How's everyone doing there tonight? This is CultFlix24 back with a video. Hope everyone's doing well out there. This is going to be a video pretty much showing my essential films for October. I wanted to do something with a video for the month of October and show you guys pretty much what I go to. It's going to be a lot of films you're familiar with, and I'm just going to film them, say 31 of my favorite ones I watch pretty much during the month of October. I'll have 5 honorable mentions that are getting added to the rotation there. And it's just a big enjoyment to watch these horror films during October and Halloween and all that. So these are the ones I grew up watching. Some are new. It's all mixed in there. I'm gonna give you guys the list here. So I'll start with honorable mentions. This is one that's been in the rotation for a few years now, and it's staying there. Is The Barn. I really like this film. It has a great Halloween setting, 80s nostalgia to it. Some pretty good gore. It's everything you could expect in a horror film, and gives you that great Halloween feeling. So I wanted to add The Barn as an honorable mention. Also, Strangers Prey at Night. This is one of my favorite modern slashers. I cannot speak here, but it has an 80s feel to it as well, and I really like the setting, like the trailer parks and the color schemes, all that, and pretty good kills all around. I just enjoy this one, and I think it's a solid sequel and my favorite out of the franchise so far. Strangers Prey at Night. Here's a modern horror film that I'm adding to the list. Us. I really was impressed with this film. I like it. I like the whole psychological twist around it. I think Jordan Peele's brilliant, and this is my favorite film of his from his filmography. So this gets in the rotation in October too. That's Us. Next up, this is a 80s horror film I had not heard of till I picked it up. It's Raging Fire, aka Hell High. You can see there. It's an 80s slasher I'd never heard of, and I watched it and I really enjoyed it. I think I've watched it twice now, and it has a great Halloween feel to it as well. I like the setting and the kills and the kind of the way the slasher elements go through it. I don't want to give too much away, but it's a lot of fun. And this one's a classic, but just kind of it's right below the 31, but even though it's awesome. Trick or Treat. I'm sure you guys have heard of this one. Awesome rock soundtrack. Nice kind of possession film. It's just all around fun. 80s cheese at its finest. That's Trick or Treat. Those are my those are my 5 honorable mentions. Like I said, this ain't a ranking video. It's just films I watched. They're not in particular order. It'd be too hard to rank these because a lot of these could be number 1 on lists. So I'm just pretty much talking about the ones I put in the rotation. So at 31, we got Monster Squad. Love this film. Grew up watching it. I like the Universal monsters all around it. The 80s feel. This has some pretty profound language for its era, which I love. That's what the 80s was about. Nowadays, you probably couldn't get away with that. But yeah, this film, what can I say? It's homage to the Universal monsters with an 80s touch to it. Childhood favorite of mine, The Monster Squad. Next up, we got House of a Thousand Corpses, a Rob Zombie film. This is my favorite out of the Rob Zombie filmography. I like this one to watch this during October. It has a great vibe to it. Iconic characters, music, everything to this is just top notch. So I had to put a House of a Thousand Corpses on there. Another one that I've had in the rotation since it came out, Hellfest. I like this film a lot. I think it's a fun slasher. I'm a sucker for horror films with amusement park settings, and this one does it. I hope they make a sequel to this. It'll be pretty interesting to check out because it does end on like makes you wondering what's gonna happen next. It leaves you on that. But Hellfest has always been a favorite of mine. Next up, we're gonna go with Halloween 2018. This pretty much revived Michael Myers for me. I like this film. I thought it was done very well. All around, just a fun Halloween film, and you got the iconic Michael Myers and Laurie Strode back on the screen. So what more can you ask for from Halloween 2018? Next up, another modern horror film here that I love, Terrifier 2. This is probably my favorite horror film of last year. Everything's good for me on this film. I just thought it was even better than the first one, which I enjoyed a lot, and I think Art the Clown is going to be that iconic horror villain we've been missing for a while. So this one is just a lot of fun. Can't wait till part 3. Terrifier 2 stays on the rotation. Next up here we got The Changeling, one of my favorite haunted house supernatural horror films. This one's so good. I mean, George C. Scott's excellent in this, and it just has an all-around creepiness through the whole film, unsettling ghost story pretty much. So The Changeling is probably my favorite haunted house film, honestly. Next up, I gotta go with a witch film here. I went with The Craft, one of my favorites from the 90s. Love this film. It's just fun all around. Grew up watching this, and another great cast in this, and I like that black magic supernatural element to this film. Next up, we're gonna go with Pumpkinhead, which I put in the rotation in October as well. This one's a classic. What more can I say about Pumpkinhead? Lance Henriksen, man, it's just a great creature feature all around. Great to watch in October. Another supernatural haunted house film here, Poltergeist. I love this film. This is one of my favorites. So iconic. Has so much baggage with the film as well, as you see. I mean, I can't talk too much about Poltergeist. It's just an all-around great film from the 80s. I gotta put that in the rotation. We're gonna go with Slaughter High, a funky kind of goofy slasher film that I adore. I mean, I had this on cassette back in the day, VHS tapes, and this one was like my go-to, and it still is to this day. I just love it all around. Good slasher, kind of April Fool's effect in it. Marty's one of the top characters of mine growing up. So now we're gonna get into another slasher from the 90s here, Scream. And this put the slasher genre back on the map in the 90s when it was kind of going down. Yeah, I know you guys know that story, but Wes Craven just brought it back with this one. This one's so good, man. Revived the horror slasher genre, subgenre, whatever you want to call it, but Ghostface is so good. I'm a fan of this franchise. Had to add Scream to that. Next up, we're going with a Stephen King film here, Maximum Overdrive. Great film. I love it. I love the elements, the setting, the atmosphere. Emilio Estevez in it fighting killer semis. What more could you ask for? And Stephen King pretty much coked out filming this film, so directing this film. So what more? I mean, this film's just funky, wild, and fun. From the 80s, Maximum Overdrive. Now we're gonna go with this 80s classic, The Howling. Love this film. Another werewolf film that's just put together so well. Some of the best transformation and practical effects are in this one. Dee Wallace, just a great feel all around on that one. The Howling, one of my favorite werewolf movies. Now we're gonna go to the Italians. We gotta go with Argento classic Suspiria, which, man, this film's just so beautiful to watch. It's colorful. The 4K just puts it on another planet of other 4Ks. The color scheme, to the soundtrack, to the score, to the film. There's just too much brilliance in this film to explain, but an all-around good, kind of like haunted witch film, if you'd call it. I don't know what you call this one, but one of my favorite Argento films, Suspiria. Gotta watch that one. Next up, we're going with another classic I had from the VHS days, Night of the Comet. I mean, me and my older sister used to watch this. We had to share TVs, so this would be on, me and her would watch it. We just love this movie, play it on repeat. I like the post-apocalyptic setting, the 80s feel, the characters. You just fall in love all with this film, Night of the Comet. One of my favorites from the 80s. It gets played in October as well. I'm gonna go with The Gate, another classic here. Stephen Dwarf, a young one in here, and this film's just all around fun, man. I love the little creatures, the heavy metal inspiration in it. Just 80s feel throughout this one, which you can't go wrong. The Gate, love it. We're going back to some Italian here with Fulci's The Beyond. Such a oddball, bizarre classic from the Gates of Hell trilogy. The score, the setting is just iconic. I love the hotel setting. The kills are brutal. You have some scenes that'll make you squirm in this one. And it's just Fulci at his best, man. And this is my favorite Fulci film, The Beyond. So he has other great ones as well, but this is the one that stands out to me. So I put that one in the rotation. Now we're going to go with a possession film here, the best probably ever made. The Exorcist, absolute classic. Linda Blair, iconic in this one. It's just all around good. The score, setting, makes you uneasy through the whole film. This was one of those that was like an eye opener growing up to me, and I appreciate it so much. It put that 70s excellence to horror films. I'm gonna go with a childhood favorite of mine from the 80s here. Of course, Chucky, I had to leave in the original Child's Play. This film's just, it's a masterpiece to me. I just love it. From the score, Brad Dourif's iconic voice, Chucky, the iconic killer doll, probably the best one ever made. And this, I just love this all wraparound story. The police detective, everything in this, man, is just, it's who is it? Chris Sarandon playing the cop. But it's one that, yeah, Chris Sarandon. It's a all around favorite of mine. Used to freak me out pretty bad as a kid. Now it's laughable, but when I was a kid, this actually did creep me out. Next up, we got another werewolf film here, American Werewolf in London. My favorite werewolf film. This one's done so good. I like the way the comedy and the horrors blended in together in this one, and I love the transformation scenes, of course, in this film. They're iconic and just one of the best horror films ever made. American Werewolf in London. Here we go to another one that I've always loved, but it just gets better every time I watch it. Night of the Demons. This is the essential Halloween horror film, man. Possession film. I just love it. From the house setting to the 80s cheese to, I mean, it's just so brilliant, done so well. Probably one of the best, if not the best, Demons film. Now we're going to go with one here, Trick or Treat. This has grown to be my favorite Halloween horror anthology film. I love the wraparound. I know I say that a lot, but this wraps around so nice. I love the stories, the effects. It's just creepiness all around, and you got like I speak about, like Art the Clown being like one of those horror villains that's getting his name. You gotta say Sam as well, because he's one of those that's been around longer, and he's got that presence for him too in a horror film where you're just like, man, this is classic stuff right here. But one of the best Halloween horror anthology films right there, Trick or Treat. Now we're gonna go into, of course, Jason. I had to add here, my favorite out of the franchise. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. I have to watch this one in October. It's just a must, which I already have. And this one's just so great. I like Corey Feldman playing Tommy Jarvis. You got Savini effects in here, and probably one of the most brutal endings I've seen in a Jason movie. Just love it. So Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And along with Jason, we got to go with Freddy. Original Nightmare on Elm Street in my rotation in October, no matter what. Such a great film. Another iconic horror villain, Freddy Krueger, man. And this just gives you that uneasy feeling. Soundtrack to pretty much, I love the dream concept, all that. Not being able to sleep, that's just horrifying. And good 80s feel, solid cast again. What more can I say? Iconic. Robert Englund at his best. Nightmare on Elm Street. Now we're going to go with Night of the Creeps. My favorite, another VHS one I had back in the day. This one's so fun. I mean, we got the slithering, whatever they are, those slithering squids, whatever they are. Probably said that wrong, but you got those things that slither and fly in your mouth and pretty much zombify your brain. That's just an absolute batshit crazy idea that works so well. And the one-liners in this, man. You got Tom Atkins as a detective, thrill me, badass one-liner. I mean, the characters, it's 80s feel throughout this. Another one I grew up watching. I absolutely love this. This pretty much Living Dead type of, it's mixed with sci-fi in it type of horror film, but you know, Night of the Creeps, classic. Next up, one of my favorite slashers of all time, Maniac. To add that with a great Joe Spinell, rest in peace. What a grimy, pretty much street-filling, filthy slasher right here. I just love the dirty setting of the New York life, all that stuff. And man, Sweaty Spinell's just excellent in this. Carolyn Monroe is the final girl. You got, man, this is just such a great film. Tom Savini on the effects. I mean, you guys have heard of this film a million times. Maniac. Another horror anthology film that goes up there with Trick or Treat, of course. Creepshow. Probably my favorite. This one's just so good. I love the stories, music, Stephen King, George Romero involved in this. It's just an all-around great film, man. And stories are done so well. What more can you say about Creepshow? Iconic. Now we're going to go with a vampire film here. Lost Boys. I have to have that in the lineup as well. This is probably my favorite vampire movie. Another film I couldn't find in the collection. I'm going to add Fright Night as well. Both of those are just toe-to-toe as my favorite vampire films. But man, this is just so great, man. I love it. The soundtrack, the cast, it's just, it screams 80s, man. What more can you say on that one? Now we're gonna go to Dawn of the Dead. I watched this one as well. Love the Romero Dead trilogy, or Dead. It's more than a trilogy, but the original 3. This is my favorite, Dawn of the Dead. I rotate the sequels, but this is a must go in October for me, Dawn of the Dead. I do have the box set, but I didn't want to get it down, so I'm showing you my single set here, Blu-ray. And next up we got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, top 5 slasher film of all time. I love this backwoods slasher. It's so iconic. Characters, setting, low budget horror film greatness for the 70s. And this one is the one that stayed in my brain after I watched it so many times. It just gives you an unsettling, nervous feeling throughout it. And just iconic film by Tobe Hooper, man. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Of course, my favorite one to go on Halloween. Can you guess it? Halloween, the original. I cannot speak here, guys. John Carpenter's masterpiece. The essential slasher right here. Favorite probably slasher of all time. It is my favorite slasher of all time. Michael Myers, Loomis. You got all the characters. Jamie Lee Curtis. Just done brilliantly all around. What more can I say about Halloween? You don't even need to do the gore or the gruesome just to make you uneased in this film. It's just done so right, and from the score, everything, like I said, masterpiece of a slasher here. So at Halloween, of course, I visit every October. So those are my 31 films with 5 honorable mentions, no particular order. I just put the ones I watch, I visit in October. It's such a fun month to go through these classics again, and now we're getting great transfers with them, all that. It's just a golden age of collecting right now. So hope you guys enjoyed. Hope everyone's having a wonderful October. Please hit a like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear your thoughts. This is CultFlix24, back with a video. Everyone have a great October and stay spooky. Peace.